What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Bourbon, Buzzed, and Ballin. We are your hosts, Kolby and Dut. We got another good show for you tonight.
Episode 8.
Episode 8. We're rolling. We're rolling.
Tell them what we're talking about tonight.
Well, as always, we got an opening toast we're gonna do. We got some good information on some hot topics. We're gonna talk about Dabo. We're gonna talk about some Major League Baseball rule changes. And then, of course, we're going to roll into some Major League Baseball news, some updates on the playoff race.
And, of course, we got to recap the week in football. College and pros.
College and pro. That's probably going to take up a large part of the show.
All right. Well, let's just get it started with the opening toast.
Let's do it.
You know, it seems like every week we're toasting legends. And the WNBA lost a legend. Not permanently.
Right.
But Sue Bird retired.
Quits.
She's hanging up the tennis shoes. She was the first overall pick in 2002.
Another bird.
Yep. Another bird legend.
Not related.
No relation.
Not related.
Now, she related in the fact that she's a hell of a basketball player.
Right.
4-time WNBA champ, 5-time Olympic gold medalist, 2 natties at UConn. I mean, what else can you say about her? I mean, she's also the league's all-time assist leader.
Right.
So, I mean, she's had a tremendous career. The WNBA is better because of her. Women's sports in general are better because of her. And she's going to be missed. But well-deserved retirement. I'm sure she'll be in the Basketball Hall of Fame and continue to do her work off the court.
Yeah, no, it was very fun watching her play, and I was always curious about her name. I thought she used to be related to Larry Bird, so I looked that up a long time ago and realized she wasn't. But yeah, so no, I have an opening toast. You know, given the 9/11 date has just passed, I had this story that I've wanted to talk about, and it's about, and most people probably don't remember Anthony Varvero. He was a major league pitcher. He had like a 6-year career at the major league level. Middle reliever. He most notably for the Braves. He actually retired early from baseball because he just wanted to join the Port Authority in New York City.
Kind of like Tillman did.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he did. So he joined the Port Authority, you know, and served New York City in that capacity. And then this weekend on his way to the 9/11 memorial, he tragically passed in a car accident.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that story just, you know, I found out about that story, and I just felt like it might be fitting to bring that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
That's very, very, very time appropriate, and
Yeah.
hate to hear that. You know, when somebody gives up millions in a pro career to go, you know, serve the people.
Do something
that's
much bigger.
Hats off to that. I mean, that's
Exactly. You know, one thing. You know, I know in the South we talk a lot about the New Yorkers that are moving down here,
Right.
But one thing I do know, you know, when it comes to tragic occurrences and 9/11 and the plane crashing in the Hudson River, you know, New York police, New York firefighters, New York Port Authority, they're some of the best in the world at answering those calls.
Right.
So.
Well, I didn't see much of the other NFL games this weekend, but I do know that the Giants and Titans were both wearing the FDNY or the police department hats to honor them.
Right. Yeah. So
let's
opening toast
to Sue and to Anthony and to any first responders. You know, especially given the events of the anniversary of this weekend.
That's right. Yeah.
Cheers to all of y'all.
Yep. Cheers. Cool. Well, you know, what you sipping on over there?
You know, ever since we rated it, I just can't get enough of it. And I got to watch the way I phrase this.
You like the chicken cock.
But, that chicken cock is
chicken
good.
Cock is good. It
is good.
I will say it is a good bourbon.
I definitely enjoy it, and I enjoy it neat. It doesn't need a whiskey stone or cube or anything.
It's just smooth.
Neat.
It's well worth the, was it $69?
$60. No, I thought it was $59.95. So right at $60. Yeah.
It's well worth it.
And it's becoming. You better grab it while you can, because
good color.
The more I go into the stores, I'm only seeing one bottle on the shelf.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling as it becomes more and more popular, it's going to be harder and harder to find.
Yeah.
So grab a bottle if you see it.
Yeah, that could become the next Blanton's.
What are you sipping on?
I'm actually sipping on a local bourbon product, Southern Star. This is their Paragon, weeded.
Yes, we have to get up there soon.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good bourbon. I don't like to have a rock in it during the show, because I think that's a little
disrespectful.
Well, it's disrespectful to bourbon, but disrespectful, it just waters it down a little bit, But we haven't rated this yet.
No, because
so maybe I shouldn't rate it.
No, don't give away too much, because I still would like to reach out. They're about 30-minute drive for us.
Yeah.
So that. I would still like to reach out to them and possibly do a rate that shit from their distillery.
Yeah, it's a good bourbon.
So I've kind of been holding out for that as far as putting that on the bar as a rate that shit.
Well, why don't you lead us off into coming in hot?
Yeah, let's come on in hot. And first topic would be Dabo Sweeney. Dabo Sweeney. Maybe I need to lay off the chicken cock.
Slow down on your bourbon.
So Dabo just signed a 10-year, $115 million. I'm struggling tonight. Extension, and so that makes him the second highest paid college coach, behind the GOAT.
Down goes Kirby.
Kirby went from number 1 to number 2 when Bama extended Nick. Now he's number 3.
3 weeks later, he went from first to third.
So I think he's safe in third place, especially with what's happening like down in Texas area. And
I don't know, Harbaugh, man.
Yeah, well, and there's an opening in Nebraska now, and they've been talking about a guy that we can't believe he would even have a job.
No chance he goes to Nebraska.
But that name is being dropped out
Nebraska, I will go out on a limb. Nebraska will never approach $115 million over 10 years for a coach.
Right. Not even Urban?
They would have to sell way too much corn for that.
Well, let me tell you the interesting clause in Dabo's contract is, so if he leaves to go to the NFL, there's no buyout. If he leaves to go to any other college team, there's a buyout. But if he leaves to go to Alabama, the buyout is 1.5 times greater per year than any other college. So they're really protecting themselves against him leaving to go replace Nick whenever Nick decides to step down. But the first year, the buyout's only $9 million.
Oh, wow.
You don't think Alabama would pay $9 million if Dabo was who they wanted?
Clemson fans, let that tell you a little something about where Dabo's heart is. My suspicion.
I could see him being our next coach.
Sure. It's natural.
Especially with, if Clemson would have stayed on the trajectory that they were on a few years ago, but they've kind of flatlined a little bit, and they missed the playoffs last year. So, and if they don't replace their quarterback this year, I don't see them doing much this year either. Yeah, we talked about that already.
We'll talk a little bit more about that
tonight. But that was the coming in hot news about Dabo.
Well, I'll raise my glass to Dabo. He's a good coach.
He's a Bama alum.
Bama alum.
We like Dabo. You want to talk about the baseball rule changes?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. You want to give it to him? Or you want me to give it to him?
Well, I'll give it to you in summary, and then you can dive deeper because I know you got more notes. So, basically, the Major League, they're going to effectively change the rules, and I think they're going to roll it out over time. They're not necessarily just going to...
No, it's going to be in the 2023 season.
Okay, well, I thought they were, the union was wanting it rolled out over time, but basically they're going to put the pitchers on a clock.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to eliminate the shift.
Yep.
Infield shift. So you're only going to be able to have so many infielders on one side of the field at one time. I'm sure there's going to be some gray area over second base.
You have to be, at the time the pitch is released, you have to have two infielders on each side of second base.
Yes.
Now, there's nothing to say you can't be standing right there, and as soon as he lets that ball go, you sprint to one side or the other.
Sure.
But you have to have both feet You have to have two players with both feet on each side of second base. And they have to be in the dirt. They can't be in the grass, so they can't be in the outfield either.
Right.
So,
and then they're changing the base size.
They think that's
from 15 to 18.
Yeah, they think that's a safety issue. It might be some of these bang plays at first base. It might be the difference between out and safe now. But it's really the base size is really to help protect against injuries.
I like all the changes, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know how I feel about the shift rule, because that is strategy. I know it's put in because a left-handed hitters struggle to hit to all fields.
That's the only one I didn't really like. The pitch clock, they tried it out in the minor leagues, and it knocks 30, 45 minutes off a game.
Yeah.
So
it's
pace of play, you
pace
need
of
that.
play.
It will be 15 seconds with no runners on. 20 seconds if you got a base runner.
Right.
And then
unless you step off.
Right, but I think there's only so many times you can step off, and the batter also has to, he has to be in the box by the time there's like 8 seconds left or 8 seconds of runoff. So there's some other tweaks to the rules.
Hopefully that cuts out all the batter adjustments, glove adjustments.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the pitch count, not the pitch count, but the pitch clock for sure. Because
I mean, you're in the box.
It's a boring game. I'll be honest with you. I love baseball, but man,
it's boring to watch.
It is boring to watch.
And like you said, you got the batter's standing there. First pitch is a ball. He steps out, redoes his batting glove. I mean, he didn't even do anything.
Nah.
So he adjusts his cup.
No way your glove gets that loose.
Exactly. So I think they're trying to.
I've only been to minor league games in recent history, so I like the minor league game better than I do the major league game. Now I love going to, like, the last game I was at was the Braves Dodgers a few years ago. That was.
I like playoffs.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more exciting and
I definitely watch playoff baseball.
Right.
But I just don't see how you can watch 160 plus games a year, and I know I got friends that do, but I like the rule changes.
I do fantasy baseball to try to get me more interested in baseball, and it's still all I do is just try to keep up with my players. I'm not going to sit there and watch. I mean, if I've got both pitchers pitching against each other, I might watch a pretty good chunk of the game. But
I'll tune in and watch Pujols. I'll be tuning in watching Albert Pujols.
Well, speaking of that, the last thing we wanted to talk about and coming in hot is there's 3 guys right now that are chasing kind of home run milestones, not records. Well, although one of them is chasing a record, but 2 of them, it's more a milestone. So Mike Trout is chasing a record. He's going for it tonight, as a matter of fact. We're taping on Tuesday, and he's going for the record to tie the record for most consecutive games with a home run. So yesterday he hit a home run in his 7th straight game. Today he's going for 8. That will tie
my man,
your boy, Ken Griffey Jr.
Greatest center fielder to ever.
Willie Mays.
Greatest center fielder to ever play the game.
Don Mattingly and Dale Long from the 50s. So good luck to Trout tonight.
Yeah.
Trout's a hell of a player, and if he can stay healthy, he can go down maybe as the greatest center fielder ever.
He's good for sure. Pujols is sitting on 697.
Pujols is on 697. So he did move. He did take over 4th all by himself. He was tied with A-Rod, and he hit that 697 to jump into 4th place. So he's still 3 away from that magic number. He's still got about 20 games. I didn't look up the exact number of games.
I didn't either.
But about 20, I want to say, is what he 20.
Roughly 20 couple, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And then Judge hit number 55. So he's chasing the Maris number, and he's got a good shot, the pace he's on. So good luck to those 3 guys, and we hope you get your home runs. And while we're talking baseball,
pulling hard for Albert, man.
Let's just go on and jump right into the playoff race.
Let's do it.
All right. You want to start with the National League or the American League?
Let's go American League.
League.
Let's get the best league out the way. I mean, I'm a National League guy, but man, I don't know.
Looking at the teams this year, I believe the National Leagues, and of course they've got.
Well, I mean, each league's top heavy,
right?
But American League have kind of owned the National League.
Well, currently in the American League, the Astros lead everybody. They're top in the AL. Right now they're the number 1 seed. The Yanks are number 2. The Yanks are 5 games in back of the Astros,
but they're getting Verlander back soon.
Yep. So that'll be a hard to make up 5 games in just 3 weeks. But it's possible. But
right.
It's
the Astros are just so balanced, man, with pitching and hitting and anytime you have Altuve.
Well, they got experience too. I mean, they go deep every year. Like you said, they got Altuve, they got Bregman, they got the big slugger Alvarez.
Yeah.
He's a
They're
beast.
Loaded.
Then, like you said, get Verlander healthy. Framber Valdez is having a hell of a season.
Yeah. They're just deep.
2-headed monster in the bullpen with Presley and Montero. So
they're good.
They're solid. The Yanks, of course, they're very dependent on.
They're struggling lately.
They've fallen on hard times. They have. Stanton got hurt, so he wasn't in the lineup to protect Judge, or vice versa. So they really rely on having both of those guys in there. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
Rizzo has got a calf. No, he had a head injury.
He's back though.
Yeah,
right.
And DJ LeMahieu, he's one that had the toe injury.
Mm-hmm.
Their pitching does not impress me. They got Garrett Cole, who when he's on, he's one of the best in the game. And then they got this Nestor Cortez, who kind of came out of nowhere this year and has been really good. And then they traded at the deadline for Montas from Oakland. Their bullpen's struggling. Chapman, he got a leg infection from getting a tattoo, and he's been up and down and in and out the lineup all year. Really, it's been Clay Holmes being the relief pitcher. So, nothing really to get excited about right now if you're a Yankees fan. I tell you, the team that I think can make some noise is the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
And, I found this interesting. Seattle, if they make the playoffs this year, which they're pretty much a lock, it looks like at this point, they're going to end the longest drought in all of sports.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought
it was not just baseball.
I thought it
all
was just
sports
baseball.
for not being in the playoffs. It's been 22 years.
22 years.
Yeah, since they were in the playoffs.
Since Griffey.
Yeah, and they also are the only Major League Baseball team to never reach the World Series. So they've got some things in front of them, but when you look at their lineup, the youngster Julio Rodriguez, who is a stud.
They don't hit for a great average though.
No,
their batting average is low, but man, they got pop all the way across the line.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
I guess they make up for their lack of.
And they don't have any the big time name players. They got some players that started their careers somewhere else and kind of like J.P. Crawford was a high prospect for the Phillies and never really did anything. But now with this Seattle club, he's doing really well. Ty France is another name. Their pitchers, they're all imports. They brought in Luis Castillo from the Reds. They brought in Robbie Ray. Logan Gilbert is homegrown, and he's a young, up-and-coming good pitcher. Their closer, Paul Sewell, he's not your super dominant closer, so that could get him in trouble. But I really like that team that could sneak up on some people and make some noise.
I like Tampa. I like Tampa because they're not healthy, but they're close to getting all their pieces back.
And they're another team that you look at them on paper, and it's like, how do they keep winning?
Right.
There's about the only names on offense would be a Rosarina and Yandy Diaz, and then the rest of them just
they've grown their team.
Yeah.
From their minor league system. I mean, I like the Devils.
But I do like their pitching staff.
Yeah.
And they've somehow Tampa always, they're kind of like the Braves. Their farm system just has good arms. They know how to develop them.
They do. They develop.
That's
why they're there. That's why they're there.
And that's what wins in the postseason is pitching.
It is.
Yeah,
if you get your staff together, and if you can have at least, in the playoffs, you got to have at least 3 quality starters, and then I think the Rays.
And the Rays, they got Springs, Rasmussen, and McClanahan. and they're all young, but
McClanahan's a beast.
But yeah, they're studs, all three of them.
Yeah.
And then the last team really in contention would be Toronto, who is.
You didn't mention the Guardians, Cleveland.
Yeah, right. You're right. Cleveland is winning their division.
Yeah, I think Cleveland's is a pretty scary team because they're very balanced. They got great. Well, they're great on defense, not so great hitting.
No,
but they play really good defense and they got really good pitching.
They remind me a lot of the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
I think they're the type of team that can get to the postseason, but can't really make a lot of noise once they get there.
Yeah, maybe not. But and the Twins are kind of on the outside looking in, right? Isn't that how?
Well, you got right now you got Seattle, Toronto, and Tampa, and then the next team would be Baltimore. Actually, Baltimore has been on a surge here lately.
Yeah, but their pitching is
right.
Pitching is really
the
weak,
Twins.
I think.
The Twins are actually 9 games back
of the playoffs
of the third playoff spot. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
but they got 8 games with the Cleveland
right.
Guardians over the last couple weeks of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, really, for anybody in the American League to kind of shake things up. Probably your best chances would be the White Sox if they were able to, because they're only 3 games back of Cleveland, or 3.5. So they would, and the only team that's going to make it out of that division is the one that wins it.
Right.
So I think Chicago's still alive. Baltimore 5.5 back. I just don't see it. Especially in that division.
And they had a really good season. They've improved a lot.
And they're young. They've had a lot of high draft picks that are finally now starting to reach the majors. So I look for Baltimore over the next few years. Probably not next year, but maybe 3 years from now.
I like the catcher.
Yeah.
What's his name? I
now
watched him.
Now you're making me draw a blank. And he's my fantasy catcher too.
Oh my goodness! I watched him in college.
Yeah, he was the number 1 pick.
He made it to the big leagues quick.
Yeah, you caught me off guard with that one.
I can't remember his name. Anyway, move on. Let's talk.
Well, I did want before going nationally, I did want to mention some of these young studs on Toronto, and a lot of them being former big leaguers' kids.
Oh,
you got Bo Bichette, you got Vlad Guerrero, you got Biggio. I mean, there's a lot of kids that grew up in the baseball parks. And then you got some other players like Teoscar Hernandez and George Springer.
I like George Springer.
Yeah, I mean,
I liked him
he's got experience
Astros,
when he was with the Astros. So I mean, Toronto's got a good young core.
Toronto, man, they were good, but they're just
Adley Rutschman.
Rutschman. There's no reason for you to forget your catcher.
I know.
Yeah, I like Rutschman, but Toronto has just been so inconsistent.
Yeah.
I mean, and they have.
Well, you get that with young teams.
Yeah, that's true, and they have a brutal schedule the rest of the way. So I can still see them eking into the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I think the 6 that are in control right now. Unless the White Sox can overcome the Guardians' 3-game lead in the Central, or really, that's about the only one I see.
And the National League's pretty much.
You still got Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's right.
Right there, 2 games.
Milwaukee's.
Right now you got Atlanta and the Mets keep flip-flopping for the division lead.
Yeah,
both of them are going to make it.
Yeah, whichever one doesn't win.
Right,
it's still a lot.
You're going to have the number 2 seed versus the number 4 seed.
Right.
So that's what they're playing for. So those 2 are pretty much a lock. The Phillies are pretty much a lock.
Yeah.
Well, no, I take that back. The Phillies and the Padres are the 2 and 3 teams right now. And the Phillies have 1.5 game lead on the Padres, and then you got the Brewers 2 games back of that. So there's only 3.5 games.
They're hot right now too, aren't they? The Brewers.
Yeah, they've won 2 straight.
Well, that
and
exactly
the Padres,
hot.
and then the Padres have lost 2 straight.
Yeah.
So I think you got 3 teams in the National League battling for the last 2 spots.
Has there been a bigger disappointment in all of Major League Baseball than the Padres?
The Padres.
Considering all the trades they made. Now, I realize they lost their key cog.
Yeah, and that set them back with Tatis. But going out and getting Machado, trading for Soto.
Soto hasn't really. I mean, I think all their trades are hitting like cumulative 220.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Soto's been terrible since he got there. Josh Hader, who over the last 3-4 years has been the most dominant relief pitcher in baseball. He gets out there and they pulled him. They yanked him from the closer.
Throw a strike.
They spent a lot of money. They traded a lot of assets away, and they really don't have a lot to show for it. In the win column, anyway.
But they do have their pitching staff is solid now and all back.
Yeah, because
they're all healthy for their playoff.
Yeah,
run,
you got Darvish, you got Musgrove, you got Blake Snell. So I mean, now that they're in the playoffs, if they hold on to their playoff spot, I should say, they could be a sneaky, you better watch out for them type of team. But yeah, it's.
What do you think about the Mets and the Braves? Who you think's going to win that? I mean, that's a 10.5 game they gave up.
Right.
I think they're 1.5 up right now. Or
no, it's actually half? As of the day, it was a half.
Half a game.
It was one
because they lost and the Braves won.
Right.
Yesterday.
Yeah, it was 1.5 as of Sunday, but as of today, it's a half a game.
I think the Mets are. I think the Braves are going to get them, and this is why. Because Braves always win. You like that? The Braves always win. The Mets pitching staff. They've got a few injuries.
Right. Well, and the Mets have to. The Braves are hosting the Mets for a 3-game series, September 30th through October 2nd, and that
is that the last series of the season.
So that very well could
decide.
It could come down to that final series. But yeah, like you said, the Mets, when healthy, they've got 2 of the best arms in baseball, DeGrom and Scherzer.
Yeah,
But
if they don't get them back, if they're not healthy, I mean they're toast in the playoffs because it's all about pitching.
Oh yeah.
It's all about pitching.
Oh, they've got to get those 2. I mean, they've got some good hitting. They got Pete Alonso, they got Francisco Lindor, Starlin Marte. So and they got a hell of a closer, Edwin Diaz, one of the best closers in the game right now.
Right.
So
is he the one that walks up to the trumpeter, Timmy the trumpeter?
I'm not sure. I'm not.
Oh, well, we'll talk about that later. I was just.
Actually, he's the one.
I thought maybe he was the one that.
He's the one that he just gave a shout out to Alabama because Alabama. What was it? I'd have to look it up, but there was something that Alabama did that he also does when he does his entrance, and then he gave a shout out to Alabama. But I'd have to go back and look it up. But yeah, like you said, for the Mets, it all hinges on those 2 aces.
Yeah.
If they're healthy, then they can play with anybody. But if they're not, and health has been an issue with those 2.
I like the Cardinals too, man, in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you got Paul Goldschmidt. He's chasing a Triple Crown this year. I mean, he's been on fire. He had fallen off a little bit his last few years, but now he seems to be back to his old self, looking good.
Their pitching staff and bullpen, their closer, man, they're solid.
Of course, the Dodgers.
No, I know. I mean, I think the Dodgers are the front runner for sure.
I mean, they obviously have the best record in all of baseball.
Right.
I mean, they're deep. I mean, Freddie Freeman, Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, Justin Turner. I mean,
just keep naming
1 through 9. It's
solid. It's solid. It'd be pretty awesome to see the Braves come down to the Braves and the Dodgers against Freeman playing against his old team.
Right, and then you got Kershaw is still sipping from the fountain of youth, and
I mean he's still Kershaw.
Yeah, Julio Urias, Tony Gonsolin. He did get he's got a sore forearm. He's on the IR right now, so they really need him because he was like 15-1 or 14. I mean, he was just on
tearing it up.
Yeah, an incredible tear. So they really need to get him back healthy. Another former Brave, Kimbrel, is their closer. So yeah, it would be and it very well could come down to the.
I mean,
I see it either come down to the Braves and the Dodgers or the Mets and the Dodgers.
I don't know. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the Cardinals make a surprise. Now, what seed would the Cardinals be?
Right now, they're the third seed because they're winning
seed.
their division, so they would be number 3.
They certainly wouldn't have to go up against the Dodgers unless they went out.
As of right now, they would start against the Padres.
Right.
You'd have the Cardinals and the Padres, Braves and the Phillies.
I just like their staff and their closer. You know, when it comes down to playoff baseball, it's pitching and timely hitting.
Right.
That's it.
Yep. You're right.
Because you're gonna face the best, and you're not gonna. You generally don't see, huge run productions in the playoffs. I mean, generally, but you're going to on.
No, they're usually lower scoring games, and
it's all about the pitching.
It's more of a chess match, and so it'd be interesting. I think, if I had to put some money on it, I'd probably put it on the Dodgers right now. But
yeah,
I still see it being wide open, and it might just come down to who gets hot.
Right. It always comes down to that. There's always a team that comes out of, not always, but generally a team that comes out of nowhere.
Right. I mean, the Astros did it a few years back. The Braves did it. So yeah.
I like playoff baseball though. It's intriguing. It's always intriguing. It's always fun to watch. So I look forward to it.
All right. Anything else you wanted to add?
No.
Baseball wise, let's go on and dive right into week 1 of the NFL.
Let's do it.
And you know what? It was, and I don't know if it's because of reduced preseason and condensed training camps, but there were a lot of.
I think it's a compelling argument.
A lot of injuries this weekend.
A lot of injuries.
Dak broke
and not just injuries, a lot of poor play.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, sloppy.
Just poor play. I mean, Aaron Rodgers. Yep. I mean, I've seen him, not be sharp before. But, just.
Well, Rodgers didn't participate in the OTAs and this and that, and you're great. You're a Hall of Famer, but you still have to build some chemistry with your receivers. So especially all that time away,
especially his receiving core,
and especially when you don't have you're not playing in the preseason games, and you're getting the practice time, but there's a difference between practice speed and game speed.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, look at all the Hall of Fame, preseason football players that put up goose eggs in the. I mean, it's real easy to you can't judge a quarterback in the preseason.
Right.
When he's playing against cover 3s and cover 2 shells.
Right.
I mean, nobody's throwing anything at these guys.
Right.
And so you can sit there all day long and think, Kenny Pickett's ready for NFL game week 1. And he's not. He's not because he hasn't seen a full defense.
There's some fans down in Miami saying Skylar Thompson, the 7th round draft pick, should be starting over Tua because he looked better in the preseason. That's because he was playing against kids that aren't even in the NFL right now.
Exactly.
And it's common for week 1 overreactions.
Oh yeah, and I'm trying to fight the overreaction for sure. Like I'm giddy over the Vikings right now, and
well, they did look good. They did
over
look
the
good.
Packers not looking so good.
Right.
So where do you want to go with this NFL Week 1? I mean, we're talking injuries.
Well, yeah, I was going to mention some of the key injuries. Like I said, Dak is down. They said 6 to 8 weeks after he had thumb surgery. Now Jerry's saying 4 weeks. So we'll see. Elijah Moore had a serious knee injury. Chris Godwin has got a major hammy injury. Keenan Allen also tweaked his hammy. T.J. Watt. Torn pec. Jamal.
He's not going to be out as long.
Yeah, I think they got good news on it where they don't think it's going to be as long. Originally, it was going to be out the whole season.
Right.
But they think maybe he can get back towards the end of the year. Last night in the Monday night game, Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
He hurt his quad pretty bad.
He's supposed to serious injury.
Yeah, he's supposed to miss some significant time. And then some of our Bama boys. Najee hurt his foot. He had to come out of the game. His X-rays came back negative. All the talk today is that he's playing week 2.
He was supposedly nursing that foot during preseason too, though. So
Mac Jones, they had to check on his back afterward. Turns out it was just spasms, but I mean, backs are scary once you injure a back. And then we lost 2 of our Bama alumni. Fedarian Mathis, torn at MCL. He is definitely done for the year. And Deshaun Hand tore his quad, and he's done for the year. So it was a brutal weekend.
Tom Brady might not make it through the year with that O-line.
Joe Burrow don't want to hear about that.
Yeah, no. And Joe Burrow didn't want to hear about it last year.
7 sacks in the first game, which we'll get into a little bit better. But you were talking about, some of the sloppy play and some of the teams that were expected to win didn't win. Teams that weren't expected to win did win.
Flip-flopped. I mean,
yeah, so you can't really put too much into week 1, but it's still every game counts. At the end of the year, this is a win for the teams that won and a loss for the teams that lost.
Is how long's Jimmy G gonna sit on the sideline?
Right.
I mean, are they gonna pull that trigger? Because I mean, I don't think it's fair to judge Trey Lance based on playing in a monsoon.
Right.
But still, yet, I mean.
Well, it's like we talked about a few weeks ago. I told you, I think it was our fantasy football, and I said I'm gonna let somebody else take the chance on Lance because I ain't seen nothing. I mean, 1 college game and a handful of snaps last year. You're going to have to show me more before I'm going to have any confidence in you. And speaking of a previous show, on last week's show, I mentioned that Brian Kelly for LSU needed to grow a set. And this weekend, my man Brian Dable showed that he's got a set.
Yeah, he rode Saquon, didn't he?
He rode Saquon. I'm repping the Saquon jersey because Saquon looked good. He looked back to his rookie form. Looked explosive. Was running over people, through people, around people. But Dable, so the Giants go down the field, score a touchdown. All they need to do is kick the extra point to go to overtime. He goes for 2. So, he told his team in the preseason, we're going to be aggressive, and he backed it up. And he gave that ball to Saquon, and Saquon made 2 miss. He made 2 miss in the backfield, and then he trucked the kid at the goal line.
Yeah.
And then the Giants got a little bit of luck on their side because they still left, I think, about a minute and something on the clock, and Tennessee was able to get down into field goal range, but the kicker missed the field goal. So, and if you haven't seen the post-game celebration of Dable dancing in the locker room,
I did.
It was epic.
Yeah. I don't know if I call that epic.
It was epic.
It's always nice to see those guys getting down with their players.
And then we were talking about Trey Lance and the monsoon, and some team, I think you said, let's get the trash out of the way.
They're still trash, man. Bears are still trash. They beat a kid that hasn't played in 2 years, played lower level college. I mean, come on, man. And it was
you knew I couldn't let that slide.
I know. The real Bears are gonna. The real Justin Fields is gonna come out. He's gonna come out. I mean, that was an ugly game. Hats off to the Bears getting it done.
Right.
Definitely.
Well, and then one other one that shocked me, and you can pick on me because they were one of my. I didn't pick them to go to the Super Bowl, but I picked them to lose the AFC Championship to the eventual Super Bowl champs, and that's the Indianapolis Colts, who all they could muster was a tie with the Houston Texans, who I've got picking in the top 3 next year in the draft.
Right. Well, I think we all do. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I don't agree that the Colts were gonna. I mean, I think they'll still win their division for sure. But yeah, that was it was a weird
weekend. Yeah. Well, and Rodrigo Blankenship, the goggles for University of Georgia.
Right.
He lost his job because of missing the potential game-winning field goal.
I thought he was a good kicker too, but apparently he's pretty inaccurate, pretty inconsistent.
He's cost them. That wasn't the first game that he cost them. So. Yeah. But I think I could see if he can clear his head. Kicking is like golf. If you get the yips, it's hard to shake it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I've never had the yips. I like the Seahawks last night. I thought Geno looked good.
Geno did look good.
I thought Geno looked really good, man. I thought he had command of the offense. He He ran it when he needed to run it. He made the throws when he needed to make the throws. I was impressed.
Well, there was two things that I hated about that game last night. One was how it ended.
Yeah.
You got Russ coming home, and it's 4th and 5, and you still got plenty of time on the clock. You got all 3 timeouts.
He mismanaged that down before the field goal in the first place. I mean, I don't.
He should have called timeout.
I don't understand how an NFL coach mismanages the clock.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I mean, has he not played Xbox enough to truly understand how to manage the game clock in the last few minutes?
But you just give this man all this money, and you're going to opt for a 64-yard field goal attempt. So you basically had a 5% chance, historically, 5% chance of that field goal being good, versus letting Russ, who you're paying a gazillion dollars to convert a 4th and 5, which is about a 50% success rate, and you're going to pick the 5% and go for the kick.
Yeah. No.
And today, in today's press conference, he said, "Yeah, hindsight, I think it was the wrong decision."
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, no doubt.
And then the other thing that I couldn't stand about that game last night, and I've never been able to stand it in all the Seahawks games I've ever watched, and that's Pete Carroll chewing that fucking gum. I mean, and the camera loves to zoom in on him while he's chewing. It looks like a cow chewing on some grass.
Chewing his cud.
Chewing his cud. I'm like, why do y'all keep doing that? That's one thing that I just can't stand about why. And that, they're saying that, Seattle might be picking high next year, and there's a quarterback, Bryce Young, that's going to be a high draft pick. I don't want him going to Seattle where I got to keep watching Pete Carroll.
I know. Based on Geno last night, they might have.
Yeah,
found
they
something.
might.
I mean,
Geno might be putting.
He's been in the league a while, so he looked really comfortable last night.
But is it just me, or have you noticed that too?
Oh yeah. I think we
I
all.
mean,
First
of all, I think he has a whole pack in his mouth.
He's California cool, man. California.
And he's getting
71.
I thought he was older than Nick.
No, he's 71.
Okay.
He's in great shape, man.
Well,
still surfs.
Okay. I mean,
surfs.
I respect the man.
Sure.
I just hate the way he chews gum.
Right. I get it. Well, I mean, I gotta say the Bills look great.
Yeah, the Bills looked great.
The Chiefs look great.
Mm-hmm.
The Vikings looked great.
Yep.
And the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers
look good.
Yeah,
they look good. I'm not gonna call them great yet.
No.
But they look good.
Yeah, I think early on the definitely the Bills and the Chiefs.
I mean, I based on Brady, his O-line, Buccaneers O-line,
right?
And I mean the crazy nature of the NFC right now. I mean, I think the Vikings are the front runner after week 1. I like the Vikings and I like Philadelphia right now.
Yeah, Philly looked good too.
Jalen looked good. Jalen looked really good.
Yeah, every team in the NFC East won except for Dallas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that doesn't hurt my feelings at all. And now without Dak, they're a train wreck.
I think there again, it's week 1. You can't overreact. I still think the Rams are going to be in it, at the end.
Yeah, the Rams. I mean, the Rams went up against the Bills. I mean, that was a tough draw.
And
for them.
do think, and Stafford was coming off his elbow surgery. So, I think the Rams are still a team to watch. I still think the Packers, once Aaron and his wide receivers get on the same page, I think they'll be back in the running. So,
well, as a lifelong Vikings fan, it wouldn't shock me to see them collapse for sure. But man, is there a better receiver than Justin Jefferson? I mean, Justin Jefferson.
Oh, yeah.
He's not. You can't cover him.
Right.
I don't care who you put on him. You can't cover him.
There are some. There's probably about
Well,
six or so wide receivers.
I'm gonna give Jamar Chase. I'm gonna give LSU some love tonight.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, I'm telling you,
between those two, you got Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams.
I think Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson,
Tyreek Hill. I mean,
they're in a league of their own.
There's some hella wide receiver talent in the league.
Yeah, there is.
You know, we mentioned Russ going back home to Seattle and losing. Two other quarterbacks had homecoming. Well, I call it a homecoming, or we might call it a revenge game.
All the revenge tours.
They all came up empty. The only one that's left will be Watson whenever he gets back and goes home to Houston. He might be able to break the string. But Flacco took his Jets to the Ravens, and they got destroyed. They're already talking about going to White for this weekend and pulling Flacco. And then let me rub a little more salt in your wound and talk about the other quarterback that you were so high on. And
I'm still high on him.
He got outplayed by a beef brisket.
Nah, I don't know. I mean, statistically speaking, but in the end, he brought the Panthers back.
4 sacks, 4 fumbles, and an interception.
In his week one, it was ugly. It was ugly. I think he was pressing. But in the end, you know, they had a chance to win it, and if it wasn't for a 58-yard field goal, he wins. He gets the W.
Yeah, if it wasn't for 4 sacks, 4 fumbles, and an interception, he might have got the W.
Can't call the sacks his fault though. I mean, he's playing with a rookie left tackle who's basically tackling the man as he's tackling him. So I mean, I can't really fault him. I think he definitely early on he looked like he was thrown into the back of every Cleveland Brown.
Right.
You know, he couldn't get the ball over the line.
Yeah, maybe
he's still
pressing too hard.
In the end, he still gave the Panthers a chance to win it.
Yeah.
And
I would love to see him succeed. It's like we talked in the previous episode. I love his moxie. I love his swagger. I'm just not sold on the talent. And
I still think he's a top, 15, 15, 20. He's right in that range.
I have to disagree with you on that one.
I think he's still right in that 15, 20 range.
Because if you look statistically this past weekend, Tua would have been right around 15, and I'll take Tua over Baker all day, every day. Tua's done something that no quarterback in the history of the NFL has ever done. He's 4-0 against Bill Belichick.
4-0.
Nobody has ever, when they've had more than 3 career starts against Belichick, nobody has ever been undefeated, but Tua is.
This is quite possibly Belichick's worst
roster ever. I don't think it's quite, well, with New England.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, definitely with New England. Maybe his worst defense ever. Yeah. Like even going back to his Brown days.
Yeah, Cleveland. I mean, because Nick was running that defense, and they were legit. Yeah, I agree that the cupboards are they're not bare, but they're thin.
I mean, I feel bad for Mac.
Yeah.
I mean, Devontae Parker's supposed to be, their number one, and I think he had 2 catches. I mean, they're bad.
That was Tua's number 1 last year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Trust me.
So
yeah, that's bad.
Speaking of the Dolphins game, did you hear about what some dumbass fan did?
Oh, no, that was a college game where I saw a fan. No, I didn't know that. I didn't know which.
So somebody left his grill burning.
Oh, he burned down half the
like
parking
8 cars.
Lot. Yeah, I did see that.
You could see the fans in the stadium looking, and it's just smoke just billowing everywhere because his dumbass left his grill going and burnt up 8 cars and damaged a bunch of others. And
that's going to hurt the insurance policy.
Well, you wonder, are they going to ban grills from the parking lot? Because of this dumbass.
Yeah, I did see that. It was what was it? The LSU game, or what was it? There was a fan that he walked onto the field.
Oh, that was LSU.
While they were in the middle of
just walked out there and just watching it from the field. Yeah, that was crazy.
What else you got in the NFL?
Let's see. I mean, that's about everything I had from the NFL. You know, I had Trey Lance's stats down here, and, you know, is he looking over his shoulder? You know, are they going?
I mean, again, I don't think it's fair to judge him based on the weather that they played in. We'll have to, you know, give him a few weeks, but.
Well, bringing Jimmy back almost sets him up for failure.
Yeah, that wasn't fair to him, for sure.
I get that they think that they're good quarterback play away from being Super Bowl contenders, and you got to do what you think is best for your chances to win. But if you're having, you know, if you're disrupting things because of now you've got a QB controversy after 1 week,
especially with a young
is it help? Yeah,
like
we've talked many times about the psyche, the fragile psyche of young quarterbacks. I did mention also about Burrow getting sacked 7 times and threw 4 picks.
But, you know, even with 5 turnovers, they still should have won the game.
Right.
That ought to be positive for the Bengals team and the Bengals fans, and that ought to scare the hell out of the Steelers that it took blocking an extra point, blocking a field goal, 5 turnovers, and you barely won.
Yeah.
No thanks to Minka. Minka showed out.
And I think we picked Pittsburgh to finish last, didn't we?
We picked them pretty.
Them or Cleveland.
Yeah, we picked them pretty low, pretty low.
All right, so what else you got NFL? Anything? Or are you ready to go on to college?
I'm ready to recap week 2.
All right, let's move on to college. First thing I wanted to mention was there was 4 big-time major upsets. You know, you talked about sloppy play in the NFL. There was some sloppy play in college football.
Or maybe good play by the Sun Belt.
Well, yeah, the Sun Belt. I wasn't necessarily saying that they were sloppy, but, you know, there was some officiating that was very questionable all across college football. Sloppy play.
It was
officiating. But, yeah, 4 upsets. Georgia Southern over Nebraska, and Nebraska's seen enough and said bye-bye to Scott Frost.
Out of here.
You know what? If they had to pay him $15 million for firing him. If they would have waited till October,
right,
3 weeks, they saved $7.5 million. That's how bad things.
Hell no, he was 16-31.
Yeah. They were so
he
over.
Was terrible.
They were so over him. They were willing to pay an extra $7.5 million not to wait a couple weeks.
I mean, for a storied program like Nebraska, I just need to quit thinking people are better than they are. As I thought Frost was going to be a home run.
I did too. I mean, for what he did at UCF, I thought he was.
But then all the other coaches did good at UCF.
This is true too. But I thought he was a slam dunk when they hired him.
I did too. I was actually worried that Nebraska was gonna build to something. But man, they're terrible. I mean, I've watched them play a good 6-7 times over the last few years, and they are horrible. They're hard to watch.
Yeah. Well, and how about Appalachian State?
Giant killer.
They barely lost to UNC last opening weekend. They really should have won if they make that 2-point conversion. If that receiver makes that catch, and that was at home against a not very good UNC team.
Right.
But then they go on the road to the number 6 team, to a tough environment to play in.
One of the toughest.
Yeah.
One of the toughest. Home of the 12th man.
They handed to Texas A&M. I mean, it wasn't a blowout or anything like that, but A&M couldn't get anything going.
No.
17-14. So that, and then staying right there in that conference, Marshall, the Thundering Herd.
Crazy.
Take down number 8 or number overrated.
Yeah, vastly over. I mean, there's another coach. That.
Yeah. He's the first Notre Dame coach to start his career 0-3.
Right.
And he's got to be wondering.
They lost their quarterback too.
Yeah, he's down. I think I saw 4 weeks, maybe 4 or 5 weeks. I don't think they would do anything with Marcus this soon.
No, I don't think so either. That wouldn't be Notre Dame style.
Right.
But you look at their schedule, man. They got USC. Mm-hmm. They got BYU.
Yep.
Which is another.
Which BYU was the 4th of the upsets. They
picked it.
They knocked. Hey, Baylor still was not
picked it.
Was not conference games. Baylor's still alive. But number 9 Baylor.
Tough place to play up there.
And that was the only visiting team that was upset. The other 3 teams, they were all at home.
Right.
Nebraska,
right.
Texas, and Notre Dame were all at home. Texas A&M paid $1.5 million to come get that ass whooped.
That ass. And did you see the video?
I was just about to ask you the midnight. What do they call it? Midnight yell.
The midnight yell. Their little pep rally.
And that A&M guy was talking about.
He was being. I mean, that was a little below the belt. I mean, the university shouldn't. Shouldn't allow some of that.
They pulled it all.
They're trying to pull it, but it's out
once
there.
It's golden.
Oh, it's out all over TikTok.
Oh yeah, there.
We saw a TikTok before I came here this evening where.
And that's why what's fun. What I was thinking about today was all they just had the top recruiting class because they're paying them to come there, allegedly, and.
I mean, that's what
they're
doing.
But now that these players see what a shit show Jimbo Fisher's organization is, I could see a lot of them being in the transfer portal next year.
Yeah, he's quickly becoming a villain in my book. Especially after him getting so torqued over what Coach Saban said.
Oh yeah.
He's definitely become a villain in my book.
Well, if he wasn't guilty of it, he wouldn't have been screaming that loud.
Right.
I mean,
it wasn't like nobody says he's cheating.
No.
You just took advantage, and you're doing something that was kind of an unwritten rule among coaches. But
look, Deion, he had a little beef with Coach over that same thing, but it was a misunderstanding and just the way it was worded and this and that. And they're back to making commercials together again.
And he's legit though. Travis Hunter, have you watched him?
I have not.
Ooh. He's hurt.
Is he?
Yeah, he got hurt, but I think it's just minor. But yeah, he's legit.
There was a few other upsets, not a major, not to that level, but Houston, number 25, Houston lost to an unranked Texas Tech. Houston was one that we were a little high on, maybe as a next Cincinnati. Right. Number 12, Florida loses at home to number 20, Kentucky. But that doesn't really surprise me because
we were high on Florida after week 1.
Well, but what did I say? I said, what are they, the 4th best team in the East?
Yeah.
Because you got Tennessee and Kentucky went in there. But and actually Tennessee also upset number 17 Pitt.
Yeah, Tennessee. So, it's going to be interesting.
So both Kentucky and Tennessee beat higher rated teams,
right?
And those were two of the sleeper teams we said look out for.
In the East.
And that's why I think, if Georgia ain't on their A game every single week, one of these teams can get them.
Yeah, that's true.
Then you got number 19, Wisconsin, losing at home to an unranked Washington State team.
Yeah, it's not a shock to me.
All right, let's jump into the top 5
and
wrap up this part of the show. We'll finish the week 2 recap, looking at the top 5 teams. Want to do it like we did last week and start at 5 and go backwards?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I could actually, I'll let you lead off because I listed mine wrong, so I don't know who you got at 5.
I didn't really. I was just going by yours.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk Clemson first.
Okay.
This, 35-12 against Furman.
Yeah, not impressive.
No, and they actually got outgained by Furman offensively. DJ put up some decent stats, but come on,
yeah,
man, Furman.
If you look at if you just took it on paper value,
right,
you might
would
think,
say an efficient game, but certainly not 5-star stats versus Furman.
No,
I mean, I think Clemson's in trouble.
I don't think DJ keeps that job all year.
I don't see how he does either, but Klubnik didn't look that great either. I mean he didn't play a lot, but he didn't really put up any decent stats. I think Clemson's in trouble, man. I just don't think they got it. I think they're gonna.
The Demon Deacons are coming for Clemson this year.
The Demon Deacons, maybe NC State. Never know.
Yep.
Miami.
NC State struggled in their first
game. I think Clemson,
game,
based on the ACC, has a chance to emerge.
Right.
But, I mean, I think they get washed if they make it to the playoffs.
Yep.
Let's go to Michigan.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, they look good, man. I mean,
and the reason I didn't really even dive into the top 5 was because, Clemson played Furman, Michigan played Hawaii. I mean,
right.
Next week we play Louisiana Monroe. I mean, what?
Yeah.
And the only thing that can really come out of these types of games is looking ugly.
Well, that's true, but the way I look at these ugly games, these ugly matchups are, number one, do they win appropriately? Mm-hmm. Do they handle business correctly? I don't care about the stats.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because when we get to the top of this list,
yeah,
I got a point that I want to make.
All right. Yeah, because when you play a team that's either not ranked or, FCS school or whatever, you have to handle them.
Yeah.
Like Georgia, for example, 33-0.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't sound impressive, against an inferior program like that.
Right.
But they did play an awful lot of players in that. They rotated a lot.
Right.
But like Clemson, 35-12 over Furman, that's unacceptable.
Right.
And I can tell you, DJ played the lion's share of that game.
Right. Yeah, he should have played a half at most.
Michigan looked great against Hawaii, albeit they should have. But J.J. McCarthy looked excellent.
Yeah.
His arm was sharp. He was accurate.
Is he going to be the man, or is Harbaugh still going to split?
No, it's J.J.'s job. If he splits, he's a bigger buffoon than I think he is. I mean, I already think he's crazy. He's already crazy. But the defense looked phenomenal against Hawaii. They to me, Michigan now looks the part. I mean, they're starting to look like they can handle the NFL draft from one year to the next, and they've never been able to do that.
And we talked about Frost earlier going to Nebraska, and I thought Harbaugh going to Michigan was a slam dunk, and he was going to, make them a contender from maybe not day one, but maybe year 2.
I don't think we have the time of the show for me to explain why I don't think that's true. Yeah. Because Harbaugh is handcuffed by the University of Michigan in ways that people can't imagine. Okay. And I've always argued that there's a regional difficulty in recruiting up there. Now, I know Ohio State's always ranked, but there's a difference in how their administration supports their football program versus the University of Michigan's administration supporting their football program. Okay. And that's changing.
Right.
That is changing. So that's a whole nother show. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother show.
Right.
Ohio State, I mean, they struggled early.
They found another wide receiver.
They did. No, they didn't find him. I told everybody about him.
Right.
I didn't realize he was that big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's bigger than his dad, I think.
Yeah, he's 6'3". Yeah. 6'3", like 220,
yeah, I think,
212, 218.
I think senior was 5'11", and we're talking about Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
For people that are wondering who we're talking about.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, he stepped up in place of Njigba.
And he's coming back. I saw today where Njigba's coming back this week.
Okay.
So they get him back.
That offense is going to be scary.
Yeah, I think they struggled in week 1, but they clearly are going to get better as the season progresses as long as they stay healthy. You want to talk Georgia? I mean, we kind of already talked Georgia.
Yeah, we can talk
Georgia.
Georgia.
Let's just save Bama for last.
Georgia actually jumped Alabama in the AP poll. They're now number 1. Alabama stayed number 1 in the coaches poll, which we think is trash anyway. Which I'm glad, because I don't like us being number 1.
No,
I think we play better chasing.
I do too.
And
I think Georgia should be number 1. I think they should have been 1 coming into the season.
Yeah, they should have been coming into the season, but I don't necessarily think they should have jumped us based on this weekend, because Georgia played at home, missed covering the spread by 19 points.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 33-0's not.
Alabama went on the road in a very loud. I was shocked at how loud that stadium was. Texas played out of their minds. their defense was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, our defense only gave up 1 touchdown in the game.
As bad as we
right,
complain
there's still
about
some
our D,
things to find. So we won on the road in a hostile environment, didn't cover spread by 19 points. So which one of those games is the better win?
Well, clearly the Georgia game, because we're judged against a whole different standard.
Like I said, I'm glad
the officiating.
Right. I'm glad they jumped us.
Me too.
But I also I had a should they really have jumped us though moment, and then the fact that we both missed covering the spread exactly the same amount by 19 points, and then I was like. But it doesn't, to me, like I said last week, we
could fall to 5.
The rankings, we could fall to 11 right now. I mean,
right.
you go handle your business and you handle your business. So I don't really care about it. I just thought that was interesting that both of us basically did the same thing, but our win was on the road in a hostile environment. There was at home against a JV team. So, just something to think about. I
agree. I mean, I think Georgia should have been 1 coming into the season
anyway.
And then it would have been. It would have been naturally would have been 2. But I know we played bad. I mean, we played bad. The environment, I think, got to us.
I think so.
I think Will was trying to he's pressing.
Yeah, I even mentioned that to you during the game that I think those jumping off sides. I mean, it's got to be frustrating when you're coming in here. You're trying to be the best defensive player in the country. You're trying to set sack records. We play a cupcake game week 1. He doesn't get a sack. He's getting double and triple team on every single snap.
Yeah.
Texas, I was watching him. They had 2 guys on him and a back chipping.
Yeah,
so
it was getting chipped to
every
play.
2 and 3 on him. So I think that frustration. And I think he was trying to get off so quick, and he was crowding the line of scrimmage. So those defensive offsides penalties that he took, I think, was a result of that. The frustration where the player was down, stood back up, and then he hit him in the back to extend the drive and give him 15 more yards. I think he was pressing and frustrated, and I think he kind of calmed down. I think the whole team kind of calmed down in that 4th quarter.
Seemed like it.
That we had. For the first 3 quarters, we had 186 yards total offense.
I knew.
The 4th quarter, we had 188.
Yeah.
So we had more yards in the 4th quarter than we did the first 3 quarters combined. I think play calling was horrendous.
That's what I was just about. We opened it up a little bit more
in the 4th quarter. They finally, it was kind of like the Auburn game last year.
I mean, O'Brien, he's just boring, man.
I mean, how many wide receiver screens can you throw?
Boring play caller, man.
And we kept talking during the game. Well, maybe he's running this wide receiver screen to set up.
Never set it up. Never
ran it.
Never set up anything off of that first play where
that DB jumped.
That DB jumped our route.
We would have toasted him.
Never once tried to take advantage of that.
I saw a stat today that said Bryce Young is the only quarterback in the SEC who does not have a completion where the ball has traveled 15 yards in the air. Now, he had a 20-yard completion, but the ball it wasn't.
Sure, right.
So, it's a bunch of dinking and dunking.
Well, that makes me worry. I think, right now I'm a little worried about our O-line.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about our receivers getting separation.
Right.
And the play's taking too long.
Well, I think Ja'Cory Brooks showed that he deserves more playing time because he stepped up in the 4th quarter. Gibbs is a stud. I mean,
yeah.
But if we didn't have Gibbs and Bryce, we lose that game easily.
Yeah, Gibbs has been a godsend.
Yep.
I'm hoping Harrell comes back and gives us that over the top.
Right, and I think they're saying that there's a chance him and JoJo Earl.
Yeah.
That both of them are back this week.
Yeah, I heard JoJo's coming back.
So yeah, that's some explosiveness that
I'm not worried
we
about.
need.
I'm not worried about Texas game, man. We stumbled all last year.
Oh, yeah.
We stumbled. Now this year, I thought we were going to be a little more dominant. Offensively, I was expecting more, and right now we're not there.
Right.
But
Nick Saban absolutely
loves the ball.
Right.
Run the ball.
Nick Saban absolutely loves these types of games because you get out of there with a win, but he's got all kinds of stuff that he can chew ass on his coaching staff, on his players. 15 penalties. That's the most ever since he's been at Bama.
You won't see that again.
So he's got a lot of, he always talks about the rat poison. He loves to get that ammunition that he can then use it to teach and coach and motivate his team. So I think Nick was the happiest person leaving the stadium.
He didn't look too happy.
Yeah, but
I know who wasn't happy, and that was the country, because that Big 12 officiating crew was horrendous. I mean, we benefited from a lot of calls, no
both
doubt.
ways, though.
But
both ways.
What's crazy is, on social media and reading different media outlets, it's Texas would have won this, Texas would have won that.
Right.
Alabama knocked out the Texas quarterback. That was a borderline late hit in the first place.
No.
And it wasn't a vicious hit.
Right.
It was Dallas trying to make a play.
It should not
hit him in the shoulder.
Should not have been a roughing the passing call.
I mean, how? And I'm glad they don't call that in the college like they do the NFL.
Right.
How is an athlete running at the speeds they do supposed to not lay his body weight on the quarterback?
If Dallas would have picked him up
and drove him
into the ground, yes, they met in air.
Right. No.
Dallas is superhuman, but he's not anti-gravity.
I think it's ironic, that it's the second Texas quarterback, but maybe you ought to look at possibly recruiting a little tougher quarterback before you play Alabama, because it's not, even the hit on McCoy, that was just Darius making a play, and it just hit him correctly.
Right.
And just Dallas Turner lunges and knocks Ewers down, and Ewers rolled into his shoulder.
Yeah.
And it was really a borderline late hit in the first place.
And the worst part about the officiating was the inconsistency.
Yeah.
I get human. Officials are human. They're going to make mistakes. They've got a split second to make a call. And some are going to be right, some are going to be wrong. But just be consistent. Like the pass interferences. In the first half, they're letting both the receiver and the DB do some hand
checking.
And then when it comes down to being an important moment in the game, they're calling any little ticky-tack.
You can't even touch them.
So you're letting me wrestle with this guy in the beginning of the game, but then later in the game, I can't even touch him.
Yeah. Just
be consistent so these players know what they can do and what they can't do.
Right.
There was a face mask missed on both sides.
Yep.
They face masked.
Bijan Robinson's walk into the end zone was a hold on Branch.
Yeah.
Branch is the edge player, and he was clearly held
by the outside shoulder.
Yeah, his outside with the left arm on his outside. It was so easy to see.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, I don't want it to sound like we're bitching as Bama fans, because I think they got a bunch of calls wrong on both sides of the field. And also
but if you're going to bitch about officiating, be objective.
Right.
Be objective.
Right.
I know somewhere that safety / not safety / grounding play was a total F-up call.
Well, yeah. Ultimately, they got it right in the end. But it was a clusterfuck.
It was.
He called it wrong to begin with. He called roughing the passer with targeting. So that's two different penalties. You're not supposed to be able to review roughing the passer.
Right.
There was no roughing the passer. There was no targeting. A lot of the Texas people said it should have been a safety for intentional grounding. No, a Texas player actually touched the ball after it left Bryce's hands, and we had a running back Chase was in the area.
Yeah, exactly.
And Bryce was outside the pocket. So ultimately, the call went right. But not because anything the officials did. They got lucky that it went right.
Yeah. It was an ugly officiated game.
Yeah. And there again, it's like MMA or boxing. Don't let the officials be the ones to decide the game.
Exactly.
Handle your business.
There's enough plays in the game to win the game versus losing the game because of officiating.
Right.
I'm just glad it's another conference having horrible officiating. I thought it was the SEC.
Yeah. Because we've got some bad officiating there too.
Sweet.
But
it's a good week.
What else you got?
That's it, man.
Any games you're looking forward to in college this week?
Nah, this is an ugly week, man.
Yeah.
This is ugly. I think there are a couple games. I think the BYU Oregon game is entertaining, and I guess Georgia South Carolina. I don't hold too much hope for South Carolina, but you never know. It's at South Carolina, so you never know. Georgia's due to be tested.
Yeah. I thought South Carolina might.
I thought they were going to be better than they are. But
do a little better.
Yeah.
Let me follow up on our show last week because something just hit me. A couple things I heard today just hit me. Last week we did a show on how do they still have a job, and two of the people we highlighted. One was Mike Tannenbaum, the NFL front office insider. And he went on a rant today about Justin Herbert was mis-scouted because he wasn't in the SEC. That's why he wasn't higher rated coming out of college. And that if he'd have been in the SEC, he would have, I'm like, no, look at how he performed. So he's in a worse conference and not putting up stats. So, he was a very high recruit coming out of high school. Didn't do it in college. That's why he wasn't as highly rated as...
If you go by film.
Right.
If you go by film. But you got the combine.
Yeah.
And you got Senior Bowls.
Yeah.
I don't know if he played in any
He did.
So you have hands-on your own scouting at the Senior Bowl events and at the combine. There's zero excuse to rely on film.
Exactly. So, basically he's saying scouts don't know what they're doing because he's not in the SEC. That's just one of the that was one of those takes that I told you. He just comes with these outrageous takes that make no sense.
0 cents.
And then the second one, our favorite, Mr. Skip Bayless, he said today that there's really no talent drop off between Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush. They might. He said Cooper Rush actually is probably more consistent than Dak. he was just.
He's gonna do anything to prop the Cowboys.
I just don't understand. Actually, he was kind of. I don't think he was propping the Cowboys. I think he was taking a stab at Dak Prescott. But it just stupid stuff like that. It makes you wonder, how do they still have a job? Why do people tune in? And I didn't tune in. I just read about this. Trust me, I don't tune in.
No, I hope not. I can't listen to that dude.
But it doesn't make any sense to me why people still like to watch him. Anyway, that was last week's episode. But it was just I just found that interesting that two of the guys that we talked about last week proved our point again when they opened their mouths this week. That they don't need to be in that business. Well,
that's it, man. I'm out of information.
I think we probably talked longer than we probably should have. But there was a lot to cover, and I think it's time now to go over to the bar and drink some bourbons and then rate that shit.
4, 3, 2, are you ready?
What up? We are at the Bourbon Buzzed and Ballin bar, and we're ready to rate that shit.
Yeah, I kind of chose an interesting theme tonight. It's kind of a nautical theme. I got us a creek, a river, and an ocean. So we're gonna start off at the creek, and then we're gonna work our way up to the ocean. And
now the ocean, I recognize, but I don't really recognize, these. So are these really accessible at the bourbon stores?
This Dread River, is actually from Birmingham Distillery.
Oh, okay.
And it just came out in May, so it's a very new bourbon. I was able to find it in Tuscaloosa. The Hardin's Creek, you can find that at your ABC store. It's it's part of the Jim Beam family. So this is the actual Colonel James B. Beam version. It costs about $80. It's aged for 2 years. They have an interesting, their own kind of patented aging technique where they can get the flavor in just 2 years. Now you can see it's a little bit lighter in color than, like, say, the Dread River, but it's supposed to have just as much flavor. It's the strongest bourbon we're going to drink tonight. It's 108 proof.
Okay.
And it's supposed to give you vanillas, nuts, and some oak.
Out the gate with 108.
Yeah, I usually don't like to start. I usually like to start at the lower proof and work my way up. But it didn't go with the theme. We couldn't start at the river and end at the creek. So,
makes sense.
So I had to start at the creek.
I couldn't help but laugh when you came up with this.
I'm always looking for some little, something different to talk about. Speaking of talking about, you want to give our listeners the rating system?
I've already dove in.
Well, go ahead. You tell about the rating system while I try it, and then we'll rate it.
Gotcha.
Okay?
So Bourbon Buzz and Ballin rating system, we do a 1 through 4. 1 being our lowest level, we call that a brown bag. And so basically if we just are embarrassed to have that on our shelf or we just don't recommend it at all, that's a brown bag. Number 2, it's a good tried and true bourbon, but it's something that you probably just want to mix it with a Coke or a ginger ale, Sprite, whatever it is you like to mix it with. We call that a mixer. As the bourbon gets better, it moves up our scale to 3. We call that on the rocks. You might be a 108 proof and you want to dilute it down with a rock or ice cubes or whatever you do. So, and last but not least, the tried and true, the best way to drink a bourbon, and that's neat.
That's neat, absolutely.
Yep.
Speaking of toning down, that does have a little heat to it. Like I said, it's 108 proof. I do get a couple different flavors in there. I get the vanilla.
I get the vanilla.
Yeah, vanilla and a little bit of nut.
Yeah, I'm getting.
But there's definitely some heat. Definitely a little bit of burn.
I'm getting the oakiness, like the mash. I'm almost where I can taste the mash in the bourbon more so than the.
All right, well, why don't you rate that shit?
I like this, man. I like Beam.
Yeah.
Beam is good, man. Beam is good across the board. I'm gonna put this a 3. This is a 3 for me. It's on the rocks.
Yeah, I was while you were giving your rating, I was contemplating mine, and I was teetering between 2 and 3, and but I do think that's a good bourbon.
That is a good bourbon.
I mean, it's a good sipping bourbon. You wouldn't want to just pound these hanging out by the pool. I don't know too many bourbons I want to pound, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, this is not something that.
So this is $80?
This is $80, yes.
All right, so this one you want to think twice about before you buy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a nice bottle.
I love the little leather strap on the top for people that can see it. If the Spotify listeners, it's got a leather strap that holds the cork in place.
Nice gold.
Nice
cork.
Presentation.
What kind of sound did we have?
Nice little
pop. Yeah, it was nice.
So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good one to have in your collection.
Yeah, it's a nice bottle.
Nice little sipper. Fire up a stogie. Have a cigar and sip this. It'd be nice.
Cool.
That's a good solid 3 for me.
Well, let's paddle up the creek a little bit.
You about got me choked when you said that.
Let's paddle up to the river.
Yeah, we're going to leave the creek and go into the river.
All right.
Now, like I said, this is from the Dread River Distillery in Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
Now, this is the first bourbon commercially distilled in Birmingham in over 100 years. Just came out. They had some pre-release parties. There was an Indy race in Alabama that weekend you could get a hold of these. But it officially hit the shelves of the ABC store in May the 1st was when that came out. Like I said, I was down in Tuscaloosa taking Calissa back to school. saw it in the ABC store and thought I'd give it a try. So
old school bottle.
Yeah, I just opened it tonight for the first time. Haven't even opened it yet.
Wow. Tight cork.
Cleanse my palate a little bit from from that 108.
It's a good old school bottle. I like it.
What's the color look like?
It's just nice color. It's nice color.
A little bit darker than the hardest. You know, we kind of didn't really touch on the fact that was only 2 years old. I mean, I know I mentioned it, but as we were tasting it,
you said they had a proprietary aging process, which makes sense because, well, you know, we tasted some bourbon this past weekend that was, what was it, a 22 year?
23
year, and it was lighter than it was about this light.
That shocked me.
It did shock me. I won't disclose what it was. Anyway, this one's a little darker.
Yeah, nice amber color. Nice legs.
That's a distinct smell to me. What do you get from that nose?
Well, now this one, I know what you're getting because I didn't tell you this, but this one is actually, it's a corn, wheat, and barley mash that's aged for 2 years, but then it's finished in Caribbean rum barrels.
All right, that makes sense to me.
That's the smell you're getting.
Yep, that's what I'm getting.
Is that rum barrel. And this one's 90 proof. Yeah, I kind of bounced back around between the creek and the river, and I forgot to give you all the stats on the Dread River. So yeah, the Dread River is also 90 proof, and like I said, it's finished in a rum barrel. So I see you've already tasted it, and you tell me what you think about it while I take a sip.
So it's interesting. It's not very complex to me. It's kind of medicinal.
You know, as you were almost like a Novocaine. When you said medicinal,
I'll spit that out.
You know what I'm saying? Do you get that little bit of?
Yeah, it's very on the rye side to me.
Well, it's not a high rye.
I know it's not a high rye, but
I mean, it's got barley. It doesn't have any rye. It's a wheat and corn.
Well, it's got a rye flavor to me. You know, the corn. I guess the corn mash.
And this was a $50 bottle. I don't think I mentioned that either.
It doesn't meet my palate, man. It doesn't. I didn't enjoy it. I got to be honest with you. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
To me, that's a pass. That's a hard pass to me.
You brown bagging that one?
I'm brown bagging that one, man. I got to admit. I mean, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I had
flavor was weird.
Like I said, it's like a Novocaine type of.
It's a weird taste to me. I mean, I guess maybe the rum barrel. I don't like the rum barrel in it.
Yeah,
that's a brown bag for me.
I was looking
$50.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that one. Like I said, I hadn't opened it. This is the first time I cracked it open today.
I hate Birmingham too. You know, close to
right,
home.
Yeah, because they've got a nice restaurant there, and
I mean, I would definitely like to go visit and give them the benefit of the doubt on the rest of their line.
Yeah,
but, we're not a port barrel fan,
right?
Cabernet, I don't like.
We're not as big a into the finished, the barrel finishes.
Disappointing.
I'm not a hard one.
I'm not a hard one either, but you forced me. You gave me the bag, so I had to put the bag on there. But I mean, I've had worse.
Yeah, it's definitely not as bad as some of the other ones that we rated brown bag.
I don't know if that's a ringing endorsement. I've had worse, but clearly for $50, I mean, there are so many $30 bourbons, $25 bourbons out there.
All right,
take over that.
We rated the Woodford Double Oak as a brown bag. Better or worse?
Oh, that's worse than the Double Oak.
You think that's worse than the Double Oak?
Yeah.
All right.
This is.
I was torn between a 1 and a 2, but I'm gonna concede to your 1.
This is a step above the goat.
No, it's a good floor above the goat. The goat. We would have given less than a brown if we had a 0 on our rating system.
That totally would run. I would run from that bourbon. I've seen it.
I've never said don't buy. Like even this, I would say, hey, if you're into this kind of flavoring, buy it.
Right.
But that...
Yeah, who are we to tell someone this is not your palate?
Right.
I mean, this might be your kind of bourbon, but honestly, $50, no thank you. This is the one.
Okay.
I've heard so much about Jefferson's
Right.
Ocean.
This is Jefferson's Ocean, and this is $90 a bottle.
So we're not paddling now.
We're in a cruise ship, and that's funny you should say that because the bottle actually comes with a ship's log.
Oh wow!
So this is part of Voyage 24. This bottle.
24.
So it tells you where 24 went. What was the weather during this voyage. So that's one thing about Ocean's. I was going to say Ocean's 11. That's one thing about Jefferson Ocean is you might get a little different taste from voyage to voyage, because this one I think it said it spent time in the Caribbean, which hopefully that wasn't any indication. But
I don't know rum man. But
now, this is 90 proof.
I've always liked Jefferson's Ocean or Jefferson's bottle.
Jefferson's, yeah.
Yeah, I've always liked their bottle.
Yep. Now this one is actually aged for 7 years before it's loaded onto a ship.
Okay, so it's not on the ship.
No, it's not. It's at the Kentucky Artisan Distillery in Crestwood, Kentucky.
That's an interesting color to me. It's kind of a goldish.
Right. It's not really an amber. It's more gold. So after it's aged for after this Jefferson's Ocean is aged for 7 years, then they load it up on a ship, send it on a voyage for 5 to 10 months. So, and it's out there on the ocean being rocked back and forth.
Oh yeah,
in and out of that wood.
So it should be pretty oaky, should be pretty dry, maybe.
No, not really. What it should be kind of sweet. It should be kind of like salted caramel.
All right. Well, I'm getting some caramel flavor from the smell, and it's
little cinnamon, caramel, brown sugar,
get a little cinnamon,
and a little sea salt. You will get that saltness. You're in deep thought over there. Usually that means you're disappointed.
No, it's complex, man. I got so many flavors in that first taste.
Okay.
I get the
caramel.
I got caramel. I got vanilla spices. I smelled the cinnamon, didn't really taste the cinnamon.
Right. I've tried this once before in a restaurant, and I didn't like it because it was salty, that batch that I got that night. But did you get much salt out of this one? Because I didn't really get a lot of salt.
No, I got nothing but goodness. I got nothing but goodness on that one. That was good. Tell me that it wasn't. I mean, there was so many different flavors, smells, a little bit of hug. I could feel the burn on my tongue.
I like this one. Like I said, the first time I had it, excuse me, it went down a little bit the wrong way. The first time I had it, it was too salty. And I'm not the type of person that salts my food, so
Gotcha.
I'm not a big salt guy. But this one, I'm getting a lot of, excuse me, a lot of caramel.
You really hugged on that one, didn't you? That one was, I like it.
Well, you like it? Why don't you rate it?
Man, I tell you, I want to give that a 4. Dude, that's neat for me. That's a 4 for me. I don't like to hand out 4s.
Right.
But that particular
I'm gonna do something that I hadn't done before.
You're gonna taste again.
I need to go back one more time. One more again.
He does this all the time.
No, I'm talking about during the show.
He goes back all the time.
Yeah, I do it at home, but not on the podcast. But
that color is, man, for 7 years, that doesn't look like a 7-year bourbon. It's real gold. It's like a goldish color. It's not bronze or.
I don't like you. I'm stingy with my 4s, and
I know that's what I was studying on.
I'm in between a 3 and a 4, but I had to try it one more time because to decide. Because I love caramel.
That's
and
4,
this
man.
this has got some of the strongest caramel flavor of any bourbon I've ever had.
And it's smooth.
Oh, there's no burn. No,
So
I mean,
smooth.
yeah, I got choked a little while, but that was only because it started going down the wrong pipe.
My
Now,
tongue is tingling from the. It's like my tongue is getting the hug,
yeah.
not my chest and my belly.
This shocks me because, like I said, when I had it at a restaurant, that voyage, I don't know what number voyage it was, but it was
What was that voyage?
24.
You know what?
Ken Griffey Jr.
Jr.'s number. I wonder if there's a reason for that.
I'm not sure. The print is so little on that little C log. I'd have to put on some glasses to be able to read it.
Ken Griffey Jr.,
But,
my favorite baseball player ever.
But yeah, no, I'm gonna. Surprisingly, but if you would asked me before the show, I would have never thought that.
I feel like I've had that before, and I was none impressed. But
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what's baffling me, is because when I had it at the restaurant, and it was expensive, just for it was like $20-something a drink,
oh wow,
and I was like, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth $20 a drink. But if it would have tasted like this, just pure caramel, I mean, this is like drinking
It's
a
like
Twix bar.
it's good, man.
I mean,
So, are you a 4?
if I get my Woodford chocolate bitters out, it might be a Milky Way. I'm gonna give it a 4.
I agree, man.
This particular bottle is a 4 for me.
You know that's going home with me tonight.
That's why I poured some more.
saving that one for another day.
So we've got our third neat. Now we're up to 3. We got Willet is a neat, Chicken Cock is a neat, and this Jefferson's
Where's your
Ocean.
ranking on chicken cock in that one?
Oh, I'm still Chicken Cock.
You like the cock better?
Is that a loaded question?
Nah, that chicken cock is some good stuff. That is a good bourbon.
That one, like I said, that one tonight for whatever reason.
Brown bag.
Yeah. So just to recap, the Hardin's Creek, Colonel James B. Beam, we gave that a 3.
Jim Beam did it again.
Yeah, we liked that one.
Of course, that's $80.
Yeah. Well, but we've had some.
That's a weak-looking $80 bourbon,
Right.
but it was good.
Well, and I bet you it's one that'll sneak up on you at 108 proof if you
that's
drink
true.
too much of it.
I forgot that was one of them.
So the Hardin's Creek, the creek, we weren't up the creek without a paddle. We liked it. We gave it a 3. The river was nasty. We're not going.
That was like drinking the
That's one.
Mississippi
Yeah,
River.
that's
That was like
one of them rivers you don't want to eat the fish out
a
of.
log rolling underwater.
So
on that
the
one.
Dread River, we weren't a fan of. There was just something,
It was weird.
There was something weird
about
note
it.
to it.
Maybe you'll find something different in it, but
Yeah, and I'll revisit it. You know, sometimes depending on
let's get rid of the bag.
right, depending on what was on your palate already.
Red River, the benefit of the doubt.
Right. So tonight we weren't a big fan of the Dread River. We gave it a brown bag, and then we both loved the Jefferson's Caramel. I mean Jefferson's Ocean.
It was good. That's expensive too, but
Yeah.
I think that bottle's definitely worth being in your collection. This one clearly.
Yeah, I think both of these on
These
the
are this
outer.
a nice bottle.
Well, there again, we apologize, Spotify listeners. We keep pointing, but the Hardin's Creek, it's a good-looking bottle. Needs to be in your collection. It's a good bourbon, good sipping bourbon. The Jefferson Ocean, get a bottle of that in your collection. And really, you know, Jefferson's has got a nice line.
Oh, yeah.
Just their small batch
Yeah.
is a good bourbon.
I want to say, wasn't that one a? It's a very small batch of the Ocean.
The
is
Ocean.
a very small batch, so it
Yeah.
is sort of a select.
Right, but
Not a select. It's a small batch.
Right.
There is a difference, but pour us some more Jefferson's Ocean for our final toast, and cheers for the show. And hope you guys enjoyed the show. We enjoy bringing it to you. We enjoy doing this show, talking sports. We like to keep it general and just kind of cover across all sports. We don't want to just be football. It's real easy to just kind of pigeonhole yourself into one sport, but
Right.
there's so many sports out there that's worth
Yeah.
talking about.
yeah.
So, but we got
I mean, there's a bunch that we haven't even got into yet, you know.
no, I mean we talk long enough. You know,
Yeah.
we could probably talk another hour. For
Right,
this show,
right.
To be honest with
And you know, if we're going on too long, shoot us an email. Let us know. Hey, tell us. Hey, we like your show, but we'd like it to be shorter, or we'd like it to be longer, or whatever. We'd like you to try this bourbon. Shoot us an email. You want to give them our socials?
Yeah, we got all the socials. You probably seen a few TikToks. If not, you need to get on TikTok. So we have a presence on TikTok, Bourbon, Buzzed, and Ballin. We're on Instagram, YouTube, of course, and as Kolby said, our email address is bourbonbuzzedandballinpr@gmail.com.
Right.
Hit us up, man. We would love to hear your feedback.
Spotify, Apple.
Spotify,
You can listen
and
to
Apple.
us on those.
I leave that out every time, don't I?
Well, it's not on our.
Well, that's what I got you for. That's what I got you for.
But hey, yeah, we're having a good time. Drinking some good bourbons.
We're in the house that Kolby built, so we got a free studio.
That's
so
right.
You ain't getting rid of us. So if we suck, we suck. But we're not going anywhere.
That's right.
You going anywhere?
We're here to stay.
No,
This is my retirement.
Yeah, we enjoy talking. So if you don't like listening, drive on. Hopefully you don't. Hey, if you just want to tune into the bourbon part, tune into the bourbon part.
Nah, you miss all kind of good sports talk.
Of course you miss some good talk.
But if you just don't like sports, I get it. If you don't like sports, fast forward to the end, usually about the last 20 minutes of the show is when we're over here at the bar.
We're going to take this live on TikTok one of these nights.
Hey, we're going to be doing live remotes from distilleries, the bar we went to this weekend.
Game,
Yep, absolutely. This show's going to be mobile.
You ain't getting rid of us, bottom line. Tune in to us.
You know what? We didn't even tell them next week. Next week we're gonna do something a little different.
Are we?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have an opening toast. Obviously, we're gonna toast to some well-deserving people or person.
Yeah.
After we do that, we're gonna come in hot with some current events. Something that happened within the week.
Don't know what it is.
That's right. We won't know till it happens.
Generally, it's somebody that screws up or does something good. That's it.
Yep. So we'll do a toast. We'll come in hot. Then we're gonna, it's football season. We love football, so we're gonna do a little talking about week 3 in college, week 2 in the NFL.
Yeah.
But one thing we love about football is tailgating or home gating.
We like to eat. We
love to watch football, and you can't watch football without a good bourbon and something on your plate.
Nachos, chicken
wings. Don't say too much, because we're gonna come with the list. You're gonna bring what you like.
That's right.
I'm gonna bring what I like, and we're gonna discuss
top 10 list of
what's the best foods at every tailgate you got to have.
It's non-negotiable. These foods have to be at your tailgate.
If you want a successful tailgate, you want your visitors, your friends and family to be happy,
you gotta have these foods.
Gotta have this. So we're gonna do that next week. Then of course we're gonna end up. We're gonna talk about all that food, and then we're gonna come over here. We're gonna be thirsty.
Yeah, you're gonna get me drunk again.
We're gonna be thirsty, so we'll
3 or 4 different shots.
I don't know what we're gonna. We'll figure that out.
The creek.
The river, the ocean. But we'll have some new bourbons next week that we're gonna rate, and can't wait. It's gonna be a great time. So
yeah, join us.
Till next week. Cheers.
Cheers.